Before discussing the rules of active passive voice, I want to tell you why it is necessary for us to know about the rules of both types of voices, active and passive. When we speak sentences, even in our own mother tongue, there are many sentences which require passive construction. But sometimes we fail to understand where passive construction is required. Before going into the rules of active passive, I want to point out by speaking a few Hindi sentences where passive construction is needed. Passive construction is needed when the subject is not at the beginning or the subject is not there at all. In both cases, passive construction has to be used. For instance, I may speak a few sentences where you are to focus on why passive voice is needed. पत्थर टाइप किए जा रहे हैं, झंडे को लहराया जाएगा, पुस्तकें इनाम बांटे जाएंगे, धार्मिक गीत गाए जाएंगे और ऑपरेशन किया जा रहा है, जल्दी ही सड़क की मुरम्मत पूरी हो जाएगी. तो ऑल दी सेंटेंसेस they have to be constructed in passive construction. Since when we analyze these sentences, we don't find the doer of the work in these sentences. The doer of the work should be at the beginning. When we say letter type किए जा रहे हैं, letter is not the subject, letter is not the typist. So in such sentences where the subject has been dropped, we have to use passive voice. So this is the main use of passive voice, that so many sentences when we speak in Hindi or English, they are generally spoken in passive construction. We don't say किसी ने मेरी जेब काट ली है, we simply say मेरी जेब कट गई है. तो मेरी जेब जो है, it is not subject. So this sentence requires passive construction. Now we are to learn about the rules of changing active sentence into passive voice. First of all, when we try to change active sentence into passive voice, we generally find the object at the beginning, and if there is subject at the beginning, this subject has to be taken at the end of the sentence. For instance, if we are to frame my pocket has been picked, now we have framed this sentence into passive voice. If we were to speak this sentence into active voice, then we would have said somebody has picked my pocket. So there is a change in construction, since in the passive voice we have used being, but in active voice we have simply used as and third form. So these rules will vary according to the tense. If it is present tense, in present tense active voice we use first form with SRES when it is the third person singular subject, and we use do not or does not when we have to frame negative sentences, and when we have to frame interrogative sentences we use do or does before the subject. But when the passive construction is required, then we have to see in passive voice always third form is used. Whatever the type of the tense may be, we will have to use third form in passive voice. But before using third form, we have to add one form of the be verb. Either be will be used, or IMR will be used, or was verb will be used, or being will be used, or been will be used. Either of these, any of these 5 forms of be, one has to be inserted before the third form. If we bear in mind, when there is present indefinite, we use first form in active voice, then the first form of be, that is IMR, is used in passive voice. In the same, for instance, he speaks English fluently. When this sentence is to be changed into passive voice, we will use English as an object at the beginning, English, then we will use the one form of be, that is here it is the first form, then the first form of be is will be used. We will say English is spoken very fluently by him. So in this way, in present, do you know him? it is an interrogative sentences, then is am are will come at the beginning. Is he known to you? He does not know much mathematics. So if we are to change it into passive voice, mathematics is not known much to him. We in this manner, though sometimes generally before subject we use by, but there are certain verbs where this rule changes. We have to use a different preposition. No is always followed by to, not by. Similarly, satisfied is followed by with, annoyed is followed by with, contain is followed by in, surprised is followed by at. So there are certain verbs which do not have by before the subject. So in present indefinite, when passive construction is to be made, we have to use is am are plus third form, and that first form changes into third form, but before using third form we have to use is am are. In the same manner, when we have to use past indefinite into passive voice, we change second form into third form, but before using third form we have to use was verb. Then it will become a passive construction. If the sentence is a continuous tense, either present continuous or future continuous, then we have to use being plus third form. Is am are will remain there, was verb will remain there. After is am are, we have to use being, then first form is used. If it is past continuous, after was verb, we have to use being, then third form. For instance, he is doing operation. If we are to change it into passive voice, the operation is being done by the doctor. By the doctor can be omitted also, because it is an understood subject. There are certain subjects which need not be mentioned at the end of the sentence, because they are said to be obvious subject, understood subject, and they are said to be general subjects which do not refer to any particular person. So when it is a continuous tense, we use being either before is am are or before was verb. If it is past continuous, then we use being before was verb, and if it is present continuous, then we use being before is am are. Then after being we have to use third form. So we have to bear in mind that in passive voice no other form is used except third form, and we have to add the one form of the be from our side. It be am are, be it was verb, be it being, and it is also being is also used before third form while making passive voice. When the sentences are perfect, when we refer to perfect tense, be it present perfect, past perfect or future perfect, in all these perfect tenses, a third form is already there and some helping verb is also there. But in between the helping verb and the third form, we have to add being. Then it will become passive construction. The police have caught the thief. The thief has been caught. So being is placed between helping verb and third form. He had been arrested. This is passive construction. Yeah, the police had arrested him. He will have done this work. If we are to change it into passive voice, this work will have been done by him. So in perfect tenses, we have to add being and third form. In continuous tenses, we have to add being and third form. In present indefinite, we have to add is, am, are plus third form. In past indefinite, we have to use was, verb plus third form. Whenever there is any modal, be it will, shall, should, might, may, we use be before using third form. You need not do this work, so we will say this work need not be done by you. Need is also a kind of modal. So you should help your parents should be helped by you. Whenever there is a modal in the sentence, in order to make such a sentence into passive voice, we have to put be after the modal then the third form has to be used. It applies to, though I have already explained the rules regarding modals and infinitive, but I want to elaborate it further by citing some more useful example. Sometimes we do not touch the main verb while converting the sentence into passive voice. Only non-finite verb in the form of to plus infinitive or ing, they are changed into passive voice. The example will illustrate this viewpoint. For instance, his friends started to respect him. If this is to be changed, we will not touch started. He started to be respected by his friends. Similarly, I enjoy taking children to the zoo. This sentence is to be converted into passive voice. We will not touch enjoy. We will simply convert taking into passive voice. Children enjoy being taken to the zoo. Here we have left the main verb unchanged. So this also happens when infinitive is only changed into passive voice, and sometimes we find that the object after the main verb is in the form of a clause. In that case, there are several ways of changing that kind of sentence into passive voice. For instance, people say that he killed his wife. This very sentence can be changed into passive voice in different form. People say this portion can be changed into passive voice by saying it is said that he killed his wife. Then we can also convert the sentence into passive voice by bringing he out of that clause. So this sentence can also be changed into passive voice by saying he is said to have killed his wife. So this is something complicated, but through practice you can learn it. How when there is an object in the form of a clause, then we can frame passive voice in this manner also. As it is said, scientists say that the earth is round. So we can convert this sentence. It is said that the earth is round, or the earth is said to be round. So this is also the passive voice. So these factors should also be considered while framing the passive voice. Moreover, one thing that needs to be taken into account is that there are certain subjects which are indefinite, say someone, something, people, and implied subject. We may say that a doctor and teacher, though when this kind of subject is there in the sentence, while framing passive voice, these general subjects are generally dropped. They are not used by using the preposition by, then converting them into object at the end of the sentence. So when subjects are of very general nature, indefinite nature, understood nature, then subject should be deleted. Be also used when there are imperative sentences. Shut the door, if it is to be converted into passive voice, we use this formula, let the door be, then third form, let the door be shut. If it is closed, then it would be let the door be closed. So these imperative sentences are generally framed by using let and be. When in the imperative sentences, the meaning is clear, whether it is request or order or advice, then it can be constructed in a different manner also. For example, please fill up my form. So it can be converted, let my form be filled up please, or it may be converted, you are requested to fill up my form. Bring me a glass of water, since it is an order, we can say you are ordered to bring me a glass of water, or let a glass of water be brought to me. Similarly, when there is infinitive in the sentence, in that case also be is used. Suppose in Hindi, if you are said, ये बैग स्टेशन तक लेकर जाना है, और अगर इसको एक्टिव वॉइस में हम बोलेंगे तो हम कहेंगे तुम्हें ये बैग स्टेशन तक लेके जाना है. First sentence will be constructed into passive voice this bag is to be carried to the station. But in the second sentence, we have put the subject at the beginning, then to plus first form will be used. You are to carry this baggage to the station. So there are certain words where we use bare infinitive in active voice. But when passive voice is made, then bare infinity changes into infinitive. For example, he made me stand in the sun. If it is to be changed into passive voice, we will say, I was made to stand in the sun. We will not use simply stand. Rather, we will use, I was made to stand in the sun. I heard them speak. They were heard to speak. When passive voice is framed, then this bare infinity changes into to plus infinity. So this kind of change is also seen in passive construction. Sometimes we see object after the main verb and then infinitive construction. In that case, main verb is not touched, only the object is put at the beginning and infinitive is changed into passive construction. For instance, women want man to praise them. Here want is the main finite verb, it is not to be changed into passive construction. Only them is the subject of the infinitive. And then when we will change into passive construction, infinitive subject them will come at the beginning. So we will say, women want to be praised by men. Them stands for women. And so we will say, women want, not are wanted. We will simply change infinitive into passive voice when there is object after the main verb and then infinitive follows. In such cases, object is put at the beginning as subject. Here them stands for women. So that is why we have framed these sentences. Women want to be praised. To praise will be changed into to be praised. So these are most of the basic fundamental rules of framing passive construction. But the most important thing is in Hindi or in English, we should try to see whether the sentence has subject at the beginning or the object at the beginning. If there is no subject, that construction will definitely come into passive construction. Moreover, we don't change intransitive verb into passive voice. Only those verbs which carry object with them, which are said to be transitive verbs, only transitive verbs are changeable into passive voice. He gave me a pen. Here there are two objects, me and a pen. Either of the two can be put at the beginning. If we change the sentence into passive voice, he gave me a pen, it can be said, I was given a pen by him. And it can also be framed, a pen was given to me by him. So when there are two objects in a sentence, either of the two can be brought to the beginning of the sentence. So this is also applicable. We cannot change birds are flying. So since this sentence has no object, such a sentence is not changeable into passive construction. So this active passive voice is a very important part of our grammar to be able to frame correct sentences. If we are not well familiar with the rules of active passive, and at the same time if we are not conscious where the passive construction is required, we will keep making wrong sentences. In order to avoid from such mistakes, we must try to internalize all the rules of passive construction and use them frequently in a natural manner if you have got a grip over those rules. I think this lecture will help you understand the rules of active passive and will facilitate your work in formulating correct sentences. If you like this video, I would like you to subscribe it and share it with others.